First, I want to thank Simpson College for hosting the debate, and Brian Steffen for moderating, and Brad Clark for his willingness to debate the issue tonight. The Iowa Family Policy Center, who invited me to represent traditional marriage tonight. By the way, they have a table at the back with literature, so you might want to check that out because they're trying to establish a pro-marriage organization on campus. I trust that you've heard things this evening that have made you think, and I trust that you also have an understanding that you have a voice and you also have a stake in the outcome of this particular national marriage debate. I'd like to leave you with some food for thought and some challenges. First, our Declaration of Independence tells us where our rights come from. They come from God, not from government. Secondly, we have a government, as Lincoln said, of, by, and for the people. We're supposed to be self-governing, and if we don't do it right, as Ronald Reagan says, we can lose the freedoms we enjoy. He said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And eternal vigilance is the price of keeping our freedom. The founders of this country and of this state had a great idea. Don't put too much power in any one branch of government. Why? Because people in government can't be trusted. So for checks and balances, three separate but equal branches of government were established: executive, legislative, and judicial. So the legislature passes laws, the Supreme Court interprets the Constitution. If the legislature passes a law that is inconsistent, the court strikes it down. That's the process. But sometimes the court's task in reviewing laws is straightforward, but sometimes it's very difficult. For example, on issues like same-sex marriage, that issue wasn't around when the Constitution of Iowa was framed. Justices must now determine how broad concepts such as equal protection are to be applied to 21st century issues. It's not easy. Well, in doing so, though, the court either leans toward the originalist view of the Constitution, which interprets the Constitution according to the plain meaning of the text and according to other courts' rulings called precedents, or you can lean toward a progressive view of interpreting the Constitution, seeing it as a living document and in essence creating a new understanding to define things as you see fit at the moment. In fact, the Varnum Court tipped its hand back in 1999, the Iowa Supreme Court, when it said that it believes that our Constitution is not merely tied to tradition, but recognizes the changing nature of society. Just how does the Constitution recognize that? It doesn't. Seeing the Constitution as an evolving document virtually means there is no Constitution, since the text doesn't matter as much as the perceived ills of society that the court feels that it can fix. Such a view allows judges to make up laws they feel are consistent with the current conditions of evolving society. Well, that is not the role of the judiciary. And so not only does this usurp the role of the legislature, but it also allows them puts in the hands of unelected judges what the legislature is supposed to do. This judicial activism violates the very separation of powers that protects branches of government from gaining too much power. This is the judicial activism that we see in Varnum. And as I mentioned at the outset, the Varnum Court wrongly decided the case. And if you think, as I do, that the definition of marriage should not be determined by unelected judges, well, then you should support letting the people of Iowa decide the issue. Tell your representatives to place the issue on the ballot and let the people decide. The Varnum Court itself said in its opinion, while the Constitution is the supreme law of the land and cannot be altered by the enactment of ordinary statutes, the power of the court flows from the people, and the people of Iowa retain the ultimate power to shape it over time. To me, this is an invitation from the court that says if you don't like our decision, you have the means to fix it. I encourage all Iowans to fix it. Fix the Varnum decision by demanding the legislature place the issue on the ballot and let the people of Iowa decide whether or not the Constitution should be amended to define marriage as between a man and a woman. And this way you'll be exercising the very power the court acknowledges that you, the people, have to shape the Constitution over time. And I encourage you to vote to define marriage as between a male and a female because I believe it is best for society. It's best for Iowa. It's consistent with historic values, and it's best for our children, which are our future.